money, that you're guaranteed to get that back. And not only do not all remodels have that one-to-one relationship, but some of them are really unique. So if you have a very specific style of, how you wanted to do your kitchen, maybe you really like turquoise and you painted your kitchen turquoise, that might not appeal to everybody, or it might not have as general of an appeal. So it isn't a one-to-one relationship.
Right, and generally this myth of like remodeling has a return on investment, like absolutely always. The truth is that sometimes it does. Now we have a concierge service here at KALEO where we go in and we do make the evaluation. We have the discussion because if it's related to more of a nominal cost type of item, or if it's something that's going to lead into more inquiry as to like the condition of the home. How well cared for is this home? Because the paint's all chipped, or this was, this carpet was stained, or whatever the case might be that might lend itself to say, maybe it's not the most desirable home. We might say, hey, a little bit of sweat equity, or maybe the concierge service might just be what you're looking for. However, what we're talking about here is this idea that, like our previous question, oh gosh, we're going to have to reglaze the tub and the shower before we, are able to list the home. And we might look at it and say, well, you probably really don't, or paint the bathroom or whatever. It's actually going to present itself very well. So point is not all remodeling is going to have a return on investment, especially big remodels and certain types of remodels as well. For instance, a driveway, your driveway is probably not going to get a total one-to-one return on investment, whereas flooring, I don't know if we actually don't have this noted, but I know this to be true, flooring actually has one of the highest ROIs. However, there's a lot of flooring out there. So does it mean all flooring has an ROI? Well, no, the right flooring does, and obviously within your budget. So anyhow, again, another reason why it's important to bring an agent in for that conversation
early on,
prior, just to kind of bust the myth that you maybe need to do something you don't really need to do.
There may be certain things too where, if you remodel, 2 bathrooms, but then you're like, cost-wise, we can't do the third, and other parts of the house aren't remodeled. Sometimes what a remodel does, it actually creates contrast between the updated and not updated parts of the house. That's true too, absolutely. As opposed to, really cleaning it out, scrubbing. And I think, the power of just really, a deep clean, making sure that there are, grime in the corners and bathrooms.
Cleaning does wonders. Cleaning does wonders. Everybody loves clean. I think everybody loves clean houses. Yes. So
next myth. So the next myth is that living trusts complicate deals. So you hold your home in a family trust. Maybe you hold it in the Garcia family trust, and you're wondering, when I go to sell, do I take the property out of the trust? Do I put it? How do I do that? And there's kind of this fear that it's going to make selling more complicated. It doesn't have to be, especially here at KALEO. We have a lot of experience working with living trusts. Even with actual successor trustees or probate deals, and where they're a little bit more complicated, but that isn't going to be something that slows you down if you do have your property in a trust.
That's right. A lot of people put it, it's a wise thing. By the way, a little plug here, and something we'll talk about at the end, but we have an attorney coming into KALEO in our downtown Village, Glendora office, and Cloyd Havens is going to come down and do a presentation on estate planning and living trust. It's a very, very smart move for you and your estate, your family, to put your home in a living trust. But oftentimes you think, well, do I pull it out when I go to sell it? How does that work? This is something we're all too familiar with, as well as, if you receive a property out of inheritance, you're the successor trustee. Oftentimes there's a lot of unfamiliar kind of processes that you've got to go through when dealing with something of that sort. We're very familiar with that. We have a very streamlined process. So it does not complicate anything at all. In fact, it goes very, very smooth, just like a regular sale. If you have questions on your living trust or what you should be doing, definitely attend this Saturday. It's a free public event, and it's going to be hosted here on Saturday at 10 a.m.?
It's 10 a.m. here. We have a Facebook event page, and it's called Estate Planning Basics, more than just a trust, but it truly is an all are welcome, whether you followed us online and social media, but you don't know any of our agents, you're still welcome.
Absolutely. Cloyd Havens is a family estate attorney here in Glendora. So, but they don't complicate deals. They're very easy. So listing your home, we want to talk to you a little bit about how we list homes here at KALEO. So we're going to kind of break it down in 3 easy kind of steps here. But the first one, marketing. Chessa?
Yes. So in terms of marketing your home, kind of going back to our earlier myth, not all agents market a home in the same way. And so really our goal is to present the absolute best version of your home, because presenting the best version is going to be the most people are clicking on it, the most people are, wanting to show up to the open house. And so that includes professional photos, professional drone video, a 3D Matterport virtual tour, which is when you've probably seen them, you kind of click into the house. It's this 3D rendering of the property. We do print marketing. We host open houses and private showings. Not all sellers want, the general public coming through their house. So if you want an open house, we'll have one. If you want private showings, we'll do that. A lot of social media ads, but all of that marketing is so that the most people who are online, who are interested in a property kind of in that price range, in that location, they're the ones that are going, this one looks amazing. They're showing it to their friends. And, most of home buyers are looking online. I think the stats are that over 90% of home buyers start their search online, and they also find the home online. And so having that online presentation being, kind of above the standard is really our goal.
Right, putting your best foot forward. I mean, that's the main objective with the marketing campaign that we do with KALEO, because what we believe is that there's an emotionality to the home buying process. And by that, I mean, is once a buyer sees a home online, it's like you want it to be displayed as best as possible, essentially almost looking better than it actually is. I mean, but the truth is that when they do go and see the home and they do fall in love with the home, they go back and then they look at those pictures again and they continue to kind of deepen that emotional bond to the home. And an emotionally committed buyer is a very strong buyer.
Yes.
And that's really what we're aiming towards when we're putting the marketing together. So we definitely don't leave any stone unturned when it comes to the marketing of your property to get as many eyeballs on it as possible and get as many people falling in love with that property.
Yes, exactly. And I think too, really the next stage of that escrow is there's all that marketing. Definitely in the listing presentation, a conversation that's going on is about pricing and pricing strategy. And the goal is that we're setting a price so we get the most offers in. And then kind of that next stage is the offers management and negotiations. And there's a lot that's going on, behind the scenes. The reason why you're hiring an agent is because you don't want to be doing the communication, with all the agents and buyers. And so that communication is, talking with other agents and saying, well, hey, here's what would make the offer a win for my clients. These are the things that they're looking for. Can you get your buyer to come up to this price? And so that offer management and the negotiations that's happening behind the scenes, that's why it actually is important. Like all of our agents play well with others. We're good at communicating with other agents because we know that the way that we're communicating with other agents is benefiting our clients.
Right.
And also making sure that we're managing a changing market. So interest rates have gone up, inventory is ever changing day to day. And so what, maybe we talk about in a listing presentation in May, if you're not ready to list until July, the market's probably changed. So we're making sure that, when your home is actually coming to market, we're giving you kind of the updates of what we're seeing, actually kind of that minute to minute update. Yeah,
that's right. And in negotiations, I mean, we've mentioned a couple of times we do play well with others, but just by the fact that we're actually nice and amicable, agents, doesn't mean that we have a problem saying no. I mean, and really the truth of negotiations that you got to be able to draw the line. You can say it very nicely, but we're still not going to accept that. Those aren't the terms that we're looking for. And we can be very specific with what we're looking for in a very professional manner. So, but that does not mean that there's just a concession that we're just bending over for everybody that comes around. Oh, okay, we'll just roll over and kind of agree to whatever they suggest, or we're talking to you and saying, oh, well, you really need to take this is the best thing. We're really looking for what is in your best interest. What are your objectives in terms of the move? What are your timelines? What are we really trying to accomplish? And that's what we're working towards. And that starts from the negotiation of the RPA, but it also continues with the negotiations of repair requests, credits being issued, and closing in those coordinations. So negotiations is a big part of what you're getting with KALEO, and we're very, very confident, very, very technically aware of the contracts and again, the rights that you're entitled to within those agreements. And so, again, a big part of listing your home is that intangible negotiation. But that's the fun part. That's kind of in the arena section,
Yeah, I mean, the offer that you're reviewing at 16 pages, there's a lot of legal language. And what we're doing is advocating for, hey, here are your rights and here are kind of your options, but so that you don't kind of feel like it's like, well, what can I do in this situation? Right. Do I have to accept the first offer? Well, no. You don't have to accept it. You could counter it. You could do nothing. And so the next thing really that we're managing is that timeline, and whether that's you're selling and you're buying, you're selling and you're renting, you're moving out of state. We did a webinar talking about moving out of state,
yep.
Which if you haven't watched it and you're considering moving out of state, we'd really recommend it because there are certain things that, again, not being in the industry, you might not know that you can actually make the sale of your home contingent on you finding a replacement property, which means you're not kind of homeless or stuck with no place to go. And so that timeline management, making sure what you want is kind of accomplished, is something that we're helping with. And again, saying, hey, here are some options, which one works the best for you?
That's right. And so, you know, when it comes to the timeline management, a lot of that coordination for timeline management, it stems around moving parts. So there's a lot of things that change. When you're looking for your home, you might find yourself in a situation where it's like, I don't feel comfortable yet agreeing to lease back my property, so I want the contingency. You might find after the home that you're trying to go after, that might prove to be unsuccessful, doesn't put you in a strong negotiating position, and then we've got to adjust, right? We've got to renegotiate that timeline, maybe do a lease back at that, but then at that point, how much time do we need? We've already seen so many houses. There's a lot of moving parts inside of that timeline management, but I confidently, KALEO agents are very skilled and experienced in dealing with those moving parts and making sure it accommodates your situation so it meets your expectations, you know, and that's the big thing with timeline management is we're setting expectations, but we're not just setting them, we're working towards meeting those expectations. And goes without saying, exceeding your expectations.
Yes.
So yes, so the timeline management. So what else we got here, Chessa, on our docket for today?
So we did want to, you know, bring forth, we mentioned the Saturday class on estate planning basics. That is something that, you know, you're definitely invited to come to. We didn't want to do this without that formal invitation. But in terms of any other questions, we do have the chat on Zoom and on Facebook and our Instagram stream to see if we have any comments. And I know we have a couple too that we can ask about.
Yes, we've got some questions already in the queue. Let's see here. All right, let's see here.
Okay, so I have a question. So here's one question is, if you're considering selling your home, when is a good time to talk to maybe a lender about getting pre-approved for your next home? Is that something, you know, before you talk to your agent, during?
So if you're considering selling your home
and I want to buy another home.
And you want to buy another home, it's actually, it happens simultaneously somewhat. So yes, you've got to get lined up with a mortgage lender because really what they're going to be looking at is you're going to be looking at your ability to service this new debt. The one question that they're going to have is how much money are you going to be putting down on this property? Oftentimes, you know, you're not putting the whole lump sum of your return on the sale into that particular purchase. You might have to pull some back. So all of that discussion is happening together. So you would be talking to your agent while simultaneously talking to the mortgage lender, because the agent's going to be able to assess more or less a conservative approach of like, we comfortably are going to net X amount of dollars from the sale of your home. And obviously, you know, when factoring in those numbers, much of what you're going to get in terms of that figure is it's going to be slightly lower than what you're actually going to receive. And part of that is to make sure that you're making decisions based on a high probability as opposed to a hopeful number. You know, we're not going to set you off in the direction where it's like, well, we might be able to get this, and so let's squeeze you in. Our approach is a little more pragmatic in the sense that we want whatever we're discussing and whatever you have envisioned to be a reality. And in order to do that, again, we've got to be working on it with the lender at the same time. Yeah.
And then kind of next question is there a way as a seller to know how much I could be potentially making when I go to sell